Hi there, welcome to this video looking at some of the main new features in this latest update of Logic Pro 10.1. Quite a big update, quite a lot of new stuff happening here. I'm going to start off by looking at the drummer. I think this is the one that most people are excited about, and straight away if you go to create a drummer track here, you notice genre. You have a couple of new genres, electronic and hip hop, so it's more kind of like drum machine stuff going on now and more geared towards kind of beat makers or electronic styles of music. So we've got quite a few new drummers here. Magnus, it's kind of EDM sort of style, and you also have, well, you still have all the stuff that you had previously with drummer, which is really cool. It's really flexible and really intuitive way of kind of editing drums. So you can start going loud and complex with this loop, or soft and complex, you know, just moving that around, adding in some percussion, some more snares and claps, some swings, some fills, going into the details, humanizing things, halftime, and yeah, some of the sounds in here are really nice, really modern sounding drums. So with this drummer Magnus, we've got these various different presets that are all different drum sounds. And we could actually change drummer here and say go to this drummer Julian, and I think he's more kind of house and techno, so more sort of tech house, deep house sort of styles, and you know, a lot of kind of very current sounds are catered for here. So there's some dubstep stuff. This drummer, I think that one of the drummers does more kind of trap, kind of electro and trap sort of sounds, so some really cool sounds in there, and of course hip hop as well, and yeah, some more kind of hip hop genres catered for here. So this just brings this into a whole new realm. Before it was kind of like more something that you, if you were doing some kind of rock or, you know, like R&B type stuff, you might use drummer a little bit more, but now it's kind of brought it into electronic and hip hop and dance production kind of realm a little bit more. And I really like this new GUI here for kind of editing your drums. So if you load up this drum machine designer here, essentially it's Ultra Beat triggering the samples, so you have everything here that you have this in Ultra Beat already, but I just much prefer this kind of interface for editing drums and editing sounds. So you've got a little mixer here for this loop, so the kick level, the snares and claps, the hi-hats, you know, you can mute and unmute these, and some effects, distortion, delay and reverb. So that's quite nice. And if you hit on any of these samples up here, say hit on this kick, then I get the smart controls for the kick, so I can start editing envelope, distortion, body, presence, pan, you know, same for snare, start editing this. So just really hands-on for just kind of just tailoring these drum sounds, making them sound your own a little bit, tweaking your drum kits. And you can do this for all these samples in here. That's really nice. I couldn't figure out quite how to switch out drummer. Previously with Logic 10, you could just switch out the drummer here. You could create a nice little pattern and then just switch it out for like Machina or, you know, another kind of drum machine, and just have that same rhythm being triggered by different samples. But you can't seem, you could do that by just activating the drop down and selecting machine, but you can't seem to do that now. So I'm not sure what's happening there. Maybe there's a different way around it. I've not figured that out yet. Another thing I love about this is, so we'll go back to say electronic, get one of these guys back on. This kind of house and techno loop. Oh, there's something else actually, this new feature here. If you go to this drop down menu, previously when you changed drummers, all the drum hits, everything just changed. You can keep settings now when changing drummers, or keep the drum kit when changing drummers. So you could apply the EDM style drummer but using the tech house drums, you know, you just select that there and then you would keep the kit. So I got this tech house kind of beat here, and what I can do here You right click, convert to MIDI region, and then we can do some further editing on these drums if we wanted to go into the piano roll and do this. And there's quite a few new features going on in the piano roll editor, and when you're looking at your drums like that, it's just a bit of a mess really, just all these little hits. It's kind of quite insignificant what's triggering what here, and you've got this new kind of MIDI collapse button. So if I hit that, I can now see it's just going to show me all the hits, all the MIDI events within this region, and also it's going to tell me what's what. There's my kick down there, there's my snares, my clap, second snare, hi-hat. So really nice little feature there for the piano roll, the MIDI collapse. And you can also now have more than one drummer track per song. So I've got that tech house beat, can load up another drummer in here and just start layering up different drummers and stuff. So that's pretty cool. So I think drummers I think a lot of people are going to be really into that. Really nice way of just programming drum sounds, getting ideas down very quickly. And I was saying before, a lot of new stuff going on with the piano roll. So let's load up synth here. Going to load up the retro synth because there's some new stuff happening with that, which I'll come to in a bit. If we load up this retro synth here, just loop over a shorter section and just quickly record in some MIDI. Just very basic MIDI pattern here. It's kind of irrelevant what this what the MIDI pattern's doing. It's more about just the MIDI editing options that we have here. So I've shown you that MIDI collapse before, and this works the same way for if you had a MIDI hook like a bass sound or something like that. It goes to MIDI collapse and you can just quickly see what notes are in your hook, you know, without having to sort of like, you know, work it out and click on these and go, right, okay, that's a G note. Just quickly MIDI collapse just tells you what's going on there. That's really nice. And we've got some new MIDI tools. So we've got a new tool called the brush tool, and you can access this, hit escape, access the brush tool there, or just go for quick access, set up by default, escape and E, and then you've got your brush tool. And just with one kind of mouse gesture here, I can just set these brush kind of strokes there, and I've just put all those 16th notes in there. And once you've kind of created a MIDI event like that, if you hover over it with your brush tool, it turns into the eraser tool, so you can just quickly go and start erasing MIDI notes very quickly there. So that's really nice, very quick way of editing or playing in some MIDI. It gets a little bit more powerful when you look at the time quantize and scale quantize over here. So with our MIDI brush selected here, before when I did that mouse gesture it did 16th notes, I could actually just change this time quantize here to 4th quarter notes and then use the brush, and it just does it in quarter notes and or 64th notes, you know. But what you could also do here, so rather than it just being random notes going in here, you could pick your scale. And if I wanted a natural minor scale, and I've got it in, set it in G, now the brush with the strokes of the mouse gesture will snap to the natural minor scale. So if I draw along here, it's just going to snap to natural minor scale. So again, it's a really nice, sort of intuitive, very quick and fun way of just getting hooks down using that brush tool there. You also have this other feature in here. It's called the time handles, or the drag time handles. So if I just quickly put in some basic MIDI notes there, and we wanted to quickly just expand these, so we've got those 4. We want to expand these and just stretch them out. We've got something called drag time handles, and that's accessed in this functions drop down menu, time handles. Turn that on, and now when I go to highlight these MIDI events here, notice I get these like this blue box, and these are called time handles. And what I can do now with them highlighted in this way is I can start, it's almost like flex editing for MIDI now. So I can just drag this out, you know, expand it over this long section. I would need to drag this region out so you could see what was going on here. Or if I say wanted to just drag it in, like that. It's just a really nice way for just kind of stretching or shrinking MIDI notes, and that's called time handles. And this other feature here we've got is called smart quantize, so some new sort of quantization options here. And I'm going to go back to this drum loop here because I think this might be a better way of just showing you how it works. So we've got this drummer region here, and we've got this very kind of like loose fill at the end of this bar. Give it loads of swing. So yeah, you've got those really loose kind of snares right at the end there. Say you program something in live like that and you wanted to keep that human element but kind of quantize it a little bit. Previously you didn't really have the option to do that, but if I convert this to MIDI region now and look at these kind of events right at the end here, very loose. We wanted to say quantize it a little bit, but not sort of rigidly quantize it to the grid. So say if we're looking at this, we go to our region inspector here, and you've got this quantize option. So I could just quantize everything to 16th notes. It's very rigid and on the grid. It's lost all of that kind of human feel. And you could apply the swing, of course, but if you'd have played something in and you just wanted to not necessarily quantize it to 8th notes, 16th notes, you just wanted to keep apply some quantization, but just keep a bit of a human feel, go to smart quantize. And it's kept some of that quantization in there, it's kept some of these claps pretty loose, and it just kind of analyzes the playing a little bit and preserves some more of the natural playing. So it's great for, say, drum fills or flams or drum rolls or something like that. So smart quantize, that's accessible in the region inspector there. So we've got some new tools. We can access it in the toolbar. They're called spot arrays and note repeat. So let's go and load up an ultra beat in here, software instrument. Ultra beat drum synth. And I've got my drums mapped to keys there. And I wanted to quickly just start kind of laying down some sounds. Go to this drop down. You might not see it by default. You can see these two tools here, note repeat, spot arrays. If they're not there for some reason, just right click on your toolbar, customize toolbar, and make sure that they're checked there, and then they'll appear on your toolbar. So if I go note repeat for starters, get this drop down menu so you can see all the options. If I now hold down one of the notes to trigger one of my samples with it set on 16th notes, it just instantly triggers it. You can do a similar thing with machine actually, trigger 16th notes. This is kind of like the way that people would lay down sounds with an MPC, old school drum machines and stuff. So very quick way of just laying down grooves. So say if I wanted to, this kick drum lay down 4th notes, go to 4th notes there, quarter notes even. You can hear that. It's just got the kick on kind of quarter notes, and so I could just record that in. Just holding it down, and there it's just recorded in. So we'll look at this here. It's just recorded in my MIDI notes there, and just quickly just keep recording and say go to 8th notes and record something else. Maybe go to 16th notes and just chuck in some hi-hats or bass sounds. There you go. And it's just kind of adding all those sort of like sounds in there very quickly, and then you could start applying your grooves and shuffles and stuff. A really cool thing with this is this rate. You can actually almost set modulations on this. So say we're going quarter notes here, the modulation is going to now, by checking this box, it's now going to control the rate. So get that kick drum back up, now sort of move the modulation wheel around, which is great for just applying kind of quick drum rolls in there. And I can set the minimum and maximum amount. So if I could go right down to quarter notes as the minimum, and then the maximum go right up to the full, and then you could also set kind of triplets and stuff like that, or dotted kind of grooves. So just a really quick way for kind of getting some MIDI and some grooves and stuff like that down. And you also have this spot arrays. So with this selected, playing this groove, holding down one of those keys, it's just going to erase that sound. You can look at this, you can see that stuff's starting to get erased. So say the kick drum here, I'm just going to hold this down as I'm playing this loop, and it's just kind of got rid of those there. I'll hold down C3, which is all of these bass sounds, and it just kind of gets rid of them. So spot arrays, again, like note repeat, just very quick for editing kind of MIDI. And you notice with the drummer and with this kind of these new tools, it's about just kind of geared towards getting grooves down very quickly, just intuitive and quick writing. So we've got, I'm going to load up retro synth again, because we've got some new options here with automation. So we've got this retro synth, just basic sound. If I go to automation here, I've got this track automation, also got region automation. So you could apply automation just to the region now, and it's just going to copy it over and over, and you don't have to, it's not going to ask you if you want to copy it. So just put some automation in here very quickly. Filter, cut off. Let's record something in here first. There we go. And yeah, just apply some filter automation very quickly. And just straight away, because it's region automation, it's going to copy that over here. It's just not going to even ask us if we want to copy it or not. We can just start copying things over, or just, so if you wanted to edit this little bit of MIDI and start copying that over, you can do, and it just copies that automation that was contained within that region. And then if you wanted to move over to track automation, it's kind of more for global stuff, say like your volume, you could still apply automation in here. If I started applying some automation in here and then went to copy it, it's going to start asking me again, unless you change your kind of preferences up here in your automation preferences. And something else I noticed is if you turn this automation off, if you just went into something like this ultra beat here, I'm going to stay on the retro synth, just went into latch mode, started playing around with a few things in latch mode, go to the automation channel here, and it's just added all this automation in. It's added it all as track and automation. So if you wanted to change that and you just wanted to convert all of this to region automation very quickly, you can do this here. If you go to your mix, convert automation, and convert visible track automation to region automation, and then you've just, what you've done is you've turned on latch mode, quickly applied some automation, so it brings up the automation lanes, and then you converted them to region automation, and then this stuff will just, this will copy, and then that automation is now embedded within the region. You also have relative and trim automation modes now, which just help with fine-tuning existing automation. So some kind of helpful stuff really with the automation. Another thing we want to look at here is, say, load up these drums again, as the compressors actually got a bit of an overhaul. Lower this volume a little bit. So I think there's a compressor on here already. So the compressor has got a completely new GUI now, and it's kind of more in keeping with it's maybe looking a little bit more vintage in its design. You can actually resize this GUI as well. You can go right up to 200%, so you could really zoom in on this, and So everything's just a little bit more hands-on now with this compressor. So we've got our modes just right up here, and it's more a distinct feel, different feel in between our modes. And you can see that the FET mode is kind of modeled. It's looking a little bit more like an 1176 now with that color, and you just go to different modes, you know. And this classic VCA, this is a completely new compressor model, so a new sound, new type of compressor, and it's just a much nicer interface to use. There's not so much hidden away stuff now. You know, you've got your distortion is right here, your parallel compression, you've got this mix. This used to be hidden away here. You used to have a little drop down menu and you have to click that and look at the mix and stuff. It's right here, so you could start doing some quick parallel compression, just dialing that in there. Also, if you go to your sidechain filtering is a lot more accessible now, a lot more intuitive, easy to understand for all your sidechain filtering, so that's really nice. I love this center section as well. So this meter, it's a little bit more like a vintage design with this meter, but we can go to this graph. Now it's looking a little bit more like say the FabFilter Pro C or something like that, and you can see how you're compressing peaks and how much compression you're applying in there and stuff. So this is much nicer and just more current. It really needed that update. I think that compressor was getting a little bit out of date, so that's really nice what they've done with that. So a couple of other things with some of these instruments. Go back to this retro synth here, because what you can do now, which is really cool, is you go to this wavetable synth. You can actually load in your own wavetables. So you have a default table in there, or you can load in one of these kind of like wavetables in here. But you can actually just drag audio into this section. So say if I went to my Finder, I've got some bass loops here, and just drag and drop this bass loop in here, and new wavetable contains 16 waveforms. So just created a new wavetable from that. It won't do it with everything. You need to load in some stuff with a bit of harmonic content. If you load in like a drum loop, I don't think it really converts it, but just drag and drop some audio in there, just creates these new waveforms. So great for sort of sound design and just creating some really kind of unique sounds. And you've also got tons of new kind of like sounds, new samples, Apple loops, new patches and stuff like that. But you've also got the Mellotron now. So if I open our library and search library, you've got all your kind of familiar things in here, but you also got this vintage Mellotron. So you can just load up something like this in here. So load this up. Classic Mellotron sound, and it's just EXS24, so it's the kind of samples loaded into the EXS24. But if you wanted to go and just use your smart controls, you kind of get the interface here, so it's quite nice to play with. And you start messing around with this, and you get you can select two sounds and just blend between them, and straight away it's got that sort of familiar sound, quite an old school kind of 60s 70s sound, the Mellotron. So that's a really nice new instrument to be using. And another new feature which I really like actually is this audio unit organizer. So if you go to your Logic Pro X drop down and go to Preferences, you go to Plugin Manager here and have a look at this. And so you can see here, when you go to load a new plugin in Logic, all the Logic native stuff is quite well organized by category, and then you have your manufacturer for all your other kind of audio units. But now you can set up your own kind of customized categories in here. So if I go to this plus button in here, I want to add an extra compressors folder and do that, and then what I can do is go down to my manufacturers and go, I want to put all the compressors that I use into that folder. So put my FabFilter Pro C, just kind of drag and drop it into the compressors there, go to my Slate Digital folder and drag all my Slate Digital compressors in there. So all my virtual bus compressors can go into that folder, a virtual mix rack can go into that folder, and then hit done. Might just take a second, just rescan all the audio units. And now if you go into your kind of effects section here, I've got this compressors folder, and it's got the compressors that I kind of dragged and dropped, so all my compressors are in there now as well. And it's just another kind of sort of thing for speeding up workflow, really, just organizing all your audio units. You previously had to use an external program to do that. Now you can do it all with inside Logic. I love this other new shortcut. Just a single click loads up the EQ. Before you had to double click on this to load up this EQ. Just single click, there it is. It's one click and then it's open. You also have this, say if you wanted to solo or unsolo all these channels, or mute or unmute, you can click and drag up and that does it, you know, solo, unsolo. But now you can command click solo and it just solos them all. Same works in the mixer channel, or if you wanted to unsolo them, mute them all, same works, command click and mute and solo, you know, and it just applies it to all of those tracks there. You also got this this new button here. Say if we had loads of stuff going on in this arrangement and we're all zoomed in on this individual sound, we go, right, we want to just quickly zoom out, fit everything to the screen, just hit this button and it just kind of like just optimizes your screen and your arrangement there, and just shows you everything what's happening. So you're really zoomed in on this particular section and you're working on this section, just quickly fit everything into the screen, hit that button there. Another great workflow tool, really. So, and the other thing I noticed was with flex pitch, if you load in this kind of audio loop here and we're working in flex pitch, solo this up, and we just very quickly flex this, flex pitch. You couldn't previously apply kind of fades to the end of this. You can do that now even in flex pitch mode, so I can actually apply a fade out there and edit this fade. That real-time fades, so that's another new feature. There's plenty more features actually. If you go onto the Apple site and look at all the new features, and it's a very big update. There's a lot of new stuff going on, but kind of looked over some of the main things there. So I think we'll come and revisit some of these in a little bit more detail, like the drummer and the automation. You know, this is just an overview of everything, kind of the big stuff that's new. Definitely going to delve deeper into the compressor and stuff. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I hope you found it useful, looking at all the new features here in this Logic Pro 10.1 update. Any questions you've got, just give us a shout, and thanks for watching. Cheers.